It's time for Inside the Paranormal Virginia, with live talk and actual video of paranormal activity, ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs. Now join creator and host, John Salas.
Welcome everyone to Inside the Paranormal Virginia. I'm your host, John Salas. Thanks for tuning in. This is show number 3. Last week we had Billy Willard on. We were talking about Bigfoot. The week before that, we were talking about ghosts and paranormal. And this week, we have a very interesting topic. We have on the show with us today the Reverend Medium Tracey Lockwood. She is a psychic instructor, a radio show host. The name of the show is From a Medium's Perspective. Thank you, Tracey, for coming on the show.
Thank you, John, for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do, and a little bit about being a Reverend Medium Psychic.
That probably is something makes people go, what? Did she just say that? Or did he just say that? Yeah, I am a minister. I'm the executive minister of the Universal Mind. It's a 501c3 public charity. And I am a psychic instructor, and I teach people how to develop their, they have the ability, but I teach them how to access it and discipline it so they can do it more readily. And I work as a professional psychic medium. I have an office here in Roanoke, and I do readings for people on Skype and phone. And
okay, there's psychic and then there's medium. Is there a difference between being a psychic and being a medium?
They're connected much more than, in fact, everybody is connected much more. There's sort of, psychism would be more going with gut instinct, but not necessarily identifying where the information comes. Very free-flowing, intuitive, right brain, accurate, information, and usually deals with issues in people's lives. Maybe the past that they need to figure out, or an issue that they have in the present, or looking at trajectories of possibilities in their lives. Mediumship is specifically communicating with people that have crossed over, and not just people, but other beings that exist in a dimension that most people don't pay attention to.
So you could be a psychic and not be a medium, but you could be both too, right? A psychic and a medium.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're a medium, you are also psychic. You have developed your gift a little bit further along that spectrum, but if you're psychic, you're still got great deal of capability. It's just you might not have identified that information came from your Uncle George, or that information came from your angel such and such, or guide.
So you're both.
Yeah.
You're psychic and you're a medium.
I am.
And you have your office up in Roanoke.
I do.
And so how does this work for you? Like, what's your practice? How do you work this?
I schedule appointments with clients, and I arrange for them to come in to the office sometimes. Sometimes they call me. If they aren't in the Roanoke area and they are in the United States, they call in. If they're international clients, then I have them Skype in, because it's cheap for me to do it. And also they get to see what's going on.
So you don't necessarily need someone to be with you physically to do what you do, right?
No, there are ways that people connect. The raw basics of that, we have mind-to-mind communication, which is telepathy, or we have emotion-to-emotion connection.
Wait, are you telling me you're a medium?
Don't ask me what you're thinking.
You're a medium, a psychic, and telepathy.
Well,
you do that too?
Telepathic. It's natural. That's how you communicate with the other side, is mind to mind. And we actually do that in this dimension too, but we don't think about it. And then empathy is, being empathic is connecting emotion to emotion. There's kind of a pyramid, if you want to think about it, where words are a very small part of the language of communication with spirit. Often they use symbols, like in dreams, or imagery for the reader. so that they can understand what it is that they're talking about. Once it's fully developed into that mediumship level, you're reading these stories from the emotions. You might have imagery come to you, you might hear something, feel something, see something, etc. But the information is much more multifaceted and more emotional based.
So
there.
if someone wanted your services, they could either come over to your office and be with you physically, or they could use like a cell phone and talk to you on a cell phone, or you could take a Skype with you. But one way or the other, you're able to help them by just like either listening to their voice and...
Oh yeah, I don't have to see them. Half the time if they're in my office, I'm going to shut my eyes or be staring off into the energy around them, so it doesn't really matter. Empaths can feel people at a tremendous distance, but I do not take walk-ins. So I'm not like sitting in my office waiting for somebody to come in. I work a certain number of hours per week, and that's,
So,
you know.
So when these people come to you, are many of them just looking for answers, or are they presenting you? Is it always problematic when they come to you? Does someone come to you and say, I have these problems, or I have this going on? So is it sort of like, are they using you like as a therapist?
Well, I can't say I'm a therapist, but I would definitely say I'm a consultant. And the reasons that people come are as different as every person on the earth. There are categories of reasons that people come that are general. Some people are coming because they want career advice and how to navigate their career path. You know, if I go down this way, what's going to happen, or what does so-and-so think of me at work, and what are my chances of this, that. Sometimes people want to know about a relationship. That's probably the most predominant. You know, should I stay? Should I go? What's going on? Are they cheating on me? You know, that kind of thing. And you know, I really steer from yes/no answers, because there is always a reason that is deeper to understanding. Like if someone comes in and they're like, "Is my boyfriend? You know, should I stay with my boyfriend?" Well, no, probably.
Does he have a lot of money?
But that's not very helpful. No. Well, no, just kidding. No, but it's not very helpful. Just yes, no. Understanding helps give closure, and people come because they want to see where they should go in their life. You know, they may be changing where they're moving. Some people come to me because they're developing their spiritual gifts, and it isn't a problematic thing at all. It's very exciting, or they want to meet their guides and angels, or they want to talk about their past lives. And then medium, you know, is for people that would like to connect with someone that has crossed, because, you know, we have somebody pass and there always is something unfinished. Not always. Sometimes things are nice and tidy, but generally there are questions. And just like on social media and Facebook, people are like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? And oh, I hope you're doing okay. You know, send some love, send some light. People on the other side, we wonder, like, what are they doing? And it's so amazing what they're doing, and it's so different. And some people want to know, you know, what was it like for them when they passed, because they loved them. They want to, are you okay? You know, that's what they want to know. And the interesting thing is that the people on the other side also want to communicate. And so when they need closure too, they need to be able to explain things that, or you know, assure them that they're okay, or there are reasons that they want to talk to us too. And that's where you get ghosts, you know, sometimes, or you have a spontaneous occurrence where a spirit comes to a person. Does that make them a medium technically, just because they saw a spirit? Not necessarily, because that is the effort of that soul to communicate. And they might be seeking someone who's very sensitive, that's connected to the person that they need to talk to, or they may be trying to get some attention or some closure for themselves.
Well, how long have you been doing this?
a long time, but under many different names. And I don't mean my name, I'm talking about the nomenclature that's used for that. My very first memory of all time was of me being in my crib. My feet were really tiny and I was kicking them. I was quite happy. And I was looking up at this thing that had been hung over the crib to look pretty, some colorful things. I think it had wooden spools and some plastic straws that have definitely improved in color since I was born in making straws. And the faces of people were coming through the ethers. They just were kind of like looking in, and it seemed perfectly natural to me.
So this, I guess you would call it a gift that you did. You think it's a gift what you have?
I kind of prefer
Or this
the word
ability,
ability.
the ability.
But
Okay.
I also think it's a natural ability. I think everyone has this ability, but I think that we're born with it, but we don't necessarily keep that through the course of our life.
So what have you done with this ability throughout your life to bring you to the spot where you're at now? What have you done with it?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't really think it was anything, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are also not really aware of how much they know and feel and sense, because we don't really talk about that part of our lives. We're always about, homework and, jobs and, all the superficial things of life, the more material things of life. And we forget that part of ourselves that communicates and that feels and senses. And so all I can tell you is that as I was growing up, I felt a little bit different. But I was
because you are.
But I was comfortable with that. Like I was thinking, how some people had kind of their group in high school.
Right. But what did you do in high school?
I was friends with the geeks. I was friends with the jocks. I was friends with the intelligent, high students. I was friends with the rebels.
I mean, was it easy for you? Was it easy for you as, say, a teenager, knowing that you had this ability? Did you share that with your friends?
I didn't. I know some people like really got into like I Ching and tarot and all the little tools and stuff. I didn't know it was anything. I just was more of an observer as I grew up, and I couldn't understand why other people might not see the same things that I did. And I don't mean just clairvoyantly with my mind's eye, but also in the, how could that person be cruel to that? Don't they understand that person is scared? Or, I would always see under the surface, and I could tell like lies, and, I was very upset.
But there are a lot of people. There are a
know?
lot of people that I think are very sensitive to other people and
Absolutely.
other people's feelings. Do you think that the feelings is that psychic or mediumship when you have those feelings? I think that's normal.
I think that there is a certain language of the soul, and I think it is emotions. And I think that people that are empathic, that can feel other people's emotions, understand that naturally. And there are those that are so lost in that they can't feel their own emotions. And then there are those that are more balanced. And then if you kept going on that spectrum the other direction, you would get to sociopaths and psychopaths that have no, can torture and kind of go, oh, funny the way that they twist around, and not have any empathy or concern for, and are very narcissistic and very detached. So, I don't know, it's a life experience and personality.
Tracey has brought some graphics that we're going to put up now that she's going to help maybe explain some of what she does, and I think it'll be helpful. So why don't you go over some of these, Trace?
Hopefully everyone can see on their screen that we're born psychic, and what I mean by that is that when we come into this world, we are fresh out of the other side, and we can feel, sense, see, and know. You know, there are a lot of stories in the media lately of children that are remembering their past lives, or that are extremely intuitive, or have some kind of experience seeing other beings. And I believe that we come in pure love, unconditional love, and that we come in with the ability to heal and the ability to touch lives. And so what happens to that? Well, the first thing is we are telepathic when we're born. And imagine a baby who's used to communicating mind to mind coming to the earth and saying, my diaper's wet, could you change it? But they're saying it telepathically, and no one's listening.
Usually,
so they
usually telepathically, usually they cry.
No, not until
And
someone
a
doesn't
cold, wet
hear
diaper,
them.
they cry.
Not until someone doesn't hear them. If they had a telepathic mother or father, then they would be able to, oh, of course, I'll change your diaper. They would sense that. But what happens is they get sort of shut down. Maybe they reach out to love their grandmother because she has a bum knee, and toddled over to their grandmother and get slapped aside, like, get off of me, my knee hurts. And they misinterpret our intent. And because of that, we just decide to shut that part down.
You're on Inside the Paranormal. I'm John Salas. We are with Tracey Lockwood, medium, psychic. We had some graphics up, and she's basically giving us an overview of what she does and what this is about. So if we could get back to the graphics, this is something that I'd like to talk about. And it has to do with, this directly affects you because this is where you get information from, right?
Yes, it does. And a lot of people confuse the fact that, you know, they think my grandmother passed and she's my guide. No, technically not. She may be your facilitator. She may be watching over you. She may be assisting and helping you in your lifetime, may be communicating with you, but she's not your guide, because guides are given to you before you come into this life to help you implement your material will, the part of you that creates in this life. And the angels are given watch over your etheric will or your high soul will. So they're actually here to protect our higher will that is not ever violated. But so angels are angels, guides are guides, and spirits are spirits, and there are a lot of other categories of beings that information can come from.
But do you consider all three of them to be spiritual?
Oh, absolutely, and all for our highest good.
So angels, guides, and spirits, they're all spiritual.
Spirits may be benevolent or malevolent depending on the personality of the person who crossed.
So you believe that there are evil spirits?
Yes, but when I say spirit, I mean specifically a human who has passed. There are other beings. They're star people, and if they're angels, they're demons. You know, there's the range, there's the gamut of light and dark.
I guess my question is: are there evil entities, evil spiritual entities?
There are, yes.
And what do you think? Where do you think they emanate from?
I think that they exist just like any other being exists. I think that they're attention seekers. I don't know if I can say attention whores, but that's what I think they are. And they're trying to extract control over will, because the will is a very powerful thing.
So in the very first part of your, I guess, your characterization, you call yourself a reverend. Mm-hmm. You know, talk about that, reverend. A reverend of what?
Of the universal mind. I was ordained at the New River Valley Metaphysical Chapel in Radford, Virginia. It was a culmination of a lot of studies. I taught Bible study for 6 years, and I studied for a year and a half at the Roanoke Metaphysical Chapel here in Roanoke. And then I went to England and studied at the Arthur Findlay College of Psychic Science and took 3 courses there. And when I was there, they were asking me, why aren't you doing private readings and teaching? And I was sort of startled because I didn't realize that my ability was at that level. And they were thinking, well, duh. So,
Right. So,
you know.
So you believe in the Bible?
I believe that the Bible is a holy scripture, just like the Quran, just like the Dhammapada. It is a text of a specific religion, and religions look at God. I like what Ramakrishna said. I don't know much about Ramakrishna, but I found a quote on Facebook that I really liked, which was, religions are like the lenses of cameras taking pictures of the same building from different angles. And I think that people get very caught up in where they're taking a picture from rather than tuning into the commonalities that are between all beings that goes beyond a religious definition. It isn't just Christians that are spiritual. It isn't just Muslims that are spiritual. It isn't just Hindus that are spiritual. All of us are spiritual beings because it's part of our composite and our makeup. And our ability to succeed death and to continue on, makes you wonder where was the starting point,
Right,
which
right.
came first,
Well,
the chicken or the egg,
Do you think there are false religions?
Oh, well, lies are embedded just like truth is embedded in everything. So, you choose your path on which you focus on.
So you believe in that there's many different truths?
I would say that it would be highly arrogant for anyone to believe that their particular religion is the only way that someone would have contact with God. I would say if that's the case, their view of God is very limited because God is perfect love and everywhere and in all and through all. And so no one owns that. It would be very limiting to think that it would just be one way. And I think that we use our religions. Religions are created in the level near the etheric realm. And they're just devices for us to try to understand something that is monumentally bigger than we are.
Very interesting. Could we go to the next graphic, Brian? We talked about this a little bit off camera. So I don't know if a lot of the audience may understand this, but why don't you try to explain the difference between the etheric will and the material will?
Okay. Well, our will, our ability to create or to manifest things in this earth is one of the gifts that we have in the physical world. It's one of the things we try to master, making thoughts into things. There are challenges in the physical world that we don't have in the spiritual world, but there are things that occur, miracles that occur in the physical realm that don't happen in the spiritual realm. And so when we are in the spiritual realm, there is no violation of our will at all. Anyone who passes, I don't care if they're an atheist, a pedophile, whatever, there's no violation of their will, but then of course they can't violate anyone else's will either. And people are probably like, oh my God, well, what about punishment and what about all that? And it's more higher than that, because when people cross over, they go through, when they are ready, a life review. And in that life review, not only do they live their life, you've heard my life passed before my eyes, or some people that have had life after death experiences, the same thing.
Near-death experiences.
Right.
Talk about that.
But the life review occurs, but what's weird and interesting and makes it higher than punishment is that person experiences their life as if they are the other person. So if it is a pedophile, they have to be the 150 children and perceive what it was like to be them during their lifetime and how that felt as it went out. And that's how our souls evolve, by our consciousness and our awakening and our understanding. And our etheric will is never violated. Obviously, when we come down to the planet, our will is violated on a fairly regular basis. Didn't get the parking space, didn't find the lover, that person was mean to me. There are a lot of things that happen, but that's part of our life contract that our angels protect when we come down here.
I think that's basic human expectations, that when basic human expectations are not met, a lot of times people will treat that angrily. I didn't get what I wanted. This didn't happen. I didn't get the right girl. I didn't get the right job. Woe is me. And then they kind of turn to anger.
But I think there's a reason that we have that expectation. And I think that expectation is set because when we're in the etheric realm, when we're not in the body state, when we're not in this life, we're in the other side, we don't have a violation of our will. If we think, boy, I'd like to go to Pluto, it's boy, I'd like to go to, and you're on Pluto. At the speed of thought, we can travel to people that we love. At the speed of thought, we can adventure. We can stay in our homes over there. We have homes and places to go and things to do, and we're free will there. So we come down, and you can imagine, how dense this world feels to all of us when we're born. No wonder we cry as babies, right? Because it doesn't feel good sometimes to be in the physical, and there's so much separateness. If you're in the etheric world, then you miss somebody, boom, just as soon, at the speed of thought, there you are with them. Here we have to find their number. If you have a cell phone, call them up, hope you get them. Right. There's a process, and we don't always get to be, there's a separateness. There's your body and my body, and it's frustrating, but there are lessons to be learned through our separateness.
So when someone comes to you and they have a loved one that has passed and they want some questions answered, how do you know if you do make contact, or if you do, how do you know that one particular person is that person?
Because there's a particular resonance and signature to everyone, and I don't have to have met them, nor does any other person have to have met them to be able to recognize them. And at the speed of thought, mind-to-mind communication, you're able to connect with that energy. And they've shown scientifically that if two people are thinking of each other, there's like a tunnel that opens up to facilitate communication. Energy follows focus. We're really amazing beings. Our minds are amazingly creative. And we can do so much more than we imagine. We hear that part about we only use a certain percentage of our brain, but our mind isn't even our physical brain. Our mind is our awareness, our perception, our experiential base that is eternal, that follows us before, during, and after this life. It is a continuation of consciousness.
That's really interesting. I'm a little bit lost, though.
Sorry.
I'm a little bit confused about this. So I'm going to go on to another subject that is kind of really. It's like, okay, let's talk about dreams. And the reason why I talk about dreams is because I have had some personal experiences. Now, I don't know if you want to call it psychic ability, but I've had dreams in my life that have been really helpful to me. And usually, when I do have these dreams, it's usually with someone that's passed. My grandmother's come to me in dreams. My grandfather's come to me in dreams. And at least from your perspective, what are dreams about, and how do they help us?
Dreams are interesting because they're what we experience while our body sleeps. And so there's that difference between the brain that's physical and needs rest, and the mind, again, that experiences and has no need for rest because we're eternal. So we can visit people in the etheric realm, that have passed on. We can help people that are in other places.
Do you think we're consciously doing that? or subconsciously doing that in our dreams?
It would be subconscious, because the subconscious is our intuition and our understanding and our connection, the way that we gather proofs about spirits that come through. It's the way that we pull in information. Our subconscious is the thing that you connect to if you become psychic or develop your psychic ability or your mediumship ability. It's that unseen part. But in dream state, we can travel to people. We often go to school. I don't know if you've ever had dreams of flying. You know, we resolve issues in our brain, but we have other things that sometimes answers that are brought to us either through other people. Didn't you have an experience?
Oh, I want to share this dream. This is probably one of the best dreams I've ever had, and had to do with my grandfather. He was an Italian, Giovanni di Grezio, and he was married to my grandmother, Jenny di Grezio, and they were the best grandparents anybody could have, but I used to call him Grandpop. And Grandpop would take me all different kind of places, and I was really close to him. And I guess this was around 1998. I am a big racehorse fan. Andrew, this is for you. This is a good racehorse story. So I've been following the Kentucky Derby and following race, especially the Kentucky Derby like now, and I have been following it that year. And there are races that lead up to the Kentucky Derby, and I like to watch the races because I'm saying, oh, who's going to be, favored in the Derby? Well, there was a race that was going to be on a Saturday, and I had a dream, and my grandfather came to me in the dream, and he had this little Italian accent, and he said to me, don't bet this one horse. I want you to bet the number 7 horse. And I remember saying, Grandpa, that horse isn't any good. He goes, oh, you listen to your grandpa. And he had a big smile on his face. Well, the next day I looked in the paper, and I saw that the one horse that was running, the name of the horse was Inaccessibly Good, and he was a favorite to win. And the 7 horse was Jack Flash. He was a 20-1. I told my wife at the time, I'm going to go bet this horse. She said, you're going to lose money. Don't listen. I said, my grandfather told me. She said, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. So I went. I put $20 down. I watched the race. The number 6 horse is winning, and they're calling his name like he's going to win. And about 50 yards from the finish line, the horse breaks his leg, and the jockey flies off. And the announcer says, here comes Jack Flash, which was the horse I bet. And Jack Flash wins the race. And I think I won the exacta, the trifecta, the daily double. I think I cashed in about $800 on that. And it was all because of a dream. My wife was a little bit freaked out about it, but that was the best dream I've ever had. And it came from my grandfather. Now,
yes.
Was that really my grandfather telling me that?
That was really your grandfather.
Was it that, or was that just an angel, or was that just looking like my grandfather?
No, that was really your grandfather. And you asked me earlier, how do you know you're talking to a spirit? It's the evidence that they provide. And I don't know them. I never met them before. Sometimes I see them clairvoyantly, so I can describe their visage and how they look. Sometimes I'll start taking on the mannerisms of them. I was doing
the person that's passed.
Yeah, and I don't know it. It's subconscious, right?
No, so some of your clients tell you that?
I was doing this during a reading, and I don't do this. And I was channeling someone's father, and I suddenly looked down, and I'm like, what am I doing? And she goes, oh, he does that all the time. Well, I don't know her dad, and sometimes it's in the words that they convey. And the reason that we often experience a contact with a loved one in a dream state is because our left brain, our analytical, critical thinking side, can't handle it. So, because it's like beyond our perception, it's beyond our ability to comprehend that there would actually be that person standing there, or we might be looking in the wrong place for them because we remember them suffering on their deathbed, but they're not there anymore. So in a dream state, while our left brain, critical one, shuts up, our right brain is like, hey, good to see you. And it is a genuine encounter. And a lot of people that are developing their gift start with dream encounters.
So I have a little,
Two.
I have a little hope in me, right?
No doubt.
No, okay.
No.
We're here with the Reverend Medium Tracey Lockwood. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the phone lines. If anyone would like to give a call, ask Tracey questions, please feel free to do so. Until we start getting some calls, though, Tracey's going to talk a little bit more about the different states that we could be in spiritually and mentally. That kind of like one is in the physical, one is in the spiritual, and then some. Is there some in between too?
Yeah, if somebody's crossing over, there definitely is, John. I call them the tweeners. It's my name for them. I've never heard anyone else use it. I'm not patenting it or anything. I'm just saying, I call them the tweeners, and they're the people that get stuck between the two realms. And there's lots of reasons. Usually,
Do you call them ghosts?
I call them tweeners. They're just
Tweeners.
souls that got caught. They are ghosts, yes.
Okay,
also.
we got a caller
Yes. Okay.
in. Okay, you're on the line inside the paranormal.
Hi, my name is Laura, and I'm calling all the way from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And
Great, thank you. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I went through there a couple times. That's a cold part of the country. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I've been listening and watching the show, and I, too, am a medium, but I'm so new at it yet. And everything that you have said, I'm just like, oh, my God, I'm you. You're me. Like,
Oh, thank you, Laura. Yeah, I can feel
like,
you. I can feel you too.
Like,
Absolutely.
things with the dreams, like that's totally when I began to believe in my gift.
Yes, yeah. I think it's because we're not critical. We're just dreaming, and I guess we feel like, well, what's the harm?
Right, right. But okay, so I guess my question is, so I've done several readings now for people.
Good.
And I feel pretty comfortable doing readings, but there are still those moments where I kind of feel like I'm pulling stuff out of thin air, even though I know I'm getting it from the other side, and I know that I'm getting it from spirits of loved ones.
Yes.
But I always feel like it's so generic, and sometimes when I try to get extra, it doesn't want to come. So how do you deal with that, or how did you deal with that?
Well, honestly, I didn't deal with that situation, but a lot of my students do. I do private tutoring and I do workshops around and about, but deepening that information, trusting that information. And I think one reason that we don't trust that is that it comes through our right brain and our subconscious, right? So the most random things come through that don't make any sense to our left brain. I think, one of the weirdest things that I heard was a mother had passed and her daughter was coming sort of like for grief counseling, talking to her mom kind of thing. And several sessions, she would come like once a month. And about the third visit, we were getting all comfortable. The mom's like chatty, chatty, chatty. And she says the weirdest thing. She says, too many pots spoil the kitchen. And I'm like, what? I heard it clearly, but I didn't know why. It was the wrong quote. I was thinking, no, it's too many chefs spoil the pot. But then the girl just busts out in laughter across the table because she tells me, oh my God, she did not say that. And I'm like, yeah, she did. And she goes, oh my goodness, we found marijuana in my mom's kitchen. Oh, that's so funny, And so part of what it is for you is that, your subconscious mind doesn't correlate with your left brain. Part of it is also for you, particularly in deepening your ability. Sometimes we'll get like a superficial thing and we're sort of like, okay, I said it. Do you know what I'm saying? But then, or we'll jump on a symbol, like maybe a dog or something like that, and we'll think loyalty, but it isn't loyalty, it's trickery, and we can go on, deeper and deeper with that. I appreciate your call, Laura.
Hey, thanks a lot, Laura. Thanks for calling. Thanks for watching. We're going to take another call now. You're on Inside the Paranormal Virginia.
Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
we're doing fine. Do you have a question for us?
Yes, I do. Well, it's
Spit it out. Come on.
I want to know how I have several times known that someone was going to die, but I didn't know who. And a day or two later, I would find out that somebody did die that I knew. Okay, this has happened several times, and also I looked at one man, and I just turned. My husband said I turned just white, and I ran to my bedroom and I closed the door, and I said, "Oh my God, he's gonna die tomorrow. He's gonna die tomorrow." And I did the same thing with my dad. I told him, I said, "He's going to die tomorrow."
Yes, I
And
understand.
They just looked at me like I was crazy. What is going on? What can I do?
What's going on is actually the spirits are honoring you. They're letting you know, I'm going. And because maybe you haven't taken time to deepen your awareness to
No.
be able to identify
Don't know
them,
where to go
but
to
it
do
is actually an honor. They're giving you honor. They're saying, I'm passing, and it is sometimes that also that is that doorway to expanding your knowledge of who is passing, or tying those pieces together. But I think that they're coming to you because they feel comfortable in your energy, and they're giving you sort of a signal and a warning that it's happening. Some people get kind of bogged down sometimes because they perceive an experience. You know, people say, oh, it's a blessing and a curse. I don't ever look at it that way. I've never looked at it that way. I never really thought about it. I just do it. But a lot of people feel that way, and I think it's because often some of the lower vibrational energies or the sadder things in life are the things that we first attach to, and it has to do with a frequency. It has to do with, you know, obviously as you raise your frequency, your energy rises, and then you connect to really beautiful and cool things. But sometimes it's because we're in the earth, it's easier for us to pick up that. But I think that you could definitely develop that to where you could be more specific, and you'd have much more positive experiences as you develop, because that's the whole point, is connecting to higher energy.
Also, my son committed suicide.
I'm so terribly sorry.
That's sad. Well, thank you so much for calling in, okay? We're going to go to the next caller. You're on the air.
Yes, I have a question for Tracy.
Okay.
I frequently talk in my sleep a lot, and it's like a lot. Is there some correlation with my talking in my sleep and I say clear words?
Yes.
It's been like a lot since I've been very small.
Yes. You know, to be specific and accurate, I would have to keep it within the context of a reading. But in general, what I can tell you is that, as we were mentioning early, you know, our brain is resting, but our subconscious mind is active. And so you may be actually starting to channel. You know, Edgar Cayce was called the sleeping prophet. He was extremely accurate at diagnosing medical conditions and creating remedies that were effective for people. You know, he's passed, but he was an amazing medium. And it seems to me, again, that maybe in that subconscious state, you're just starting to speak, and through, you know, if it were of interest to you, through meditation and through connecting with that intuitive part to where it starts freely flowing, and it comes from being kind of spontaneous to be more disciplined to where you can access that more. It'd be very interesting. You might be a trance channeler too, but I'd have to read directly and specifically you to be able to go deeper than that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You're on the line.
Yes. Can I tell you about a dream?
Sure, go ahead.
All right.
Wait a minute. It's not R-rated, is it?
No, it's the most amazing dream I've ever had.
Okay, we only have about like 30 seconds, so you got to make it quick.
Okay. About 20 years ago, I went in this barber shop, which I hadn't been in since I was a teenager. And 30 or 40 years had elapsed. And I went in the barber shop, and there were 3 barbers sitting there behind a chair. So I got in the middle of the barber's chair, and I told him, give me a medium haircut. So that was the end of the dream. I remember the night, it was on a Saturday night. That morning, that Sunday morning, I went down and got the Martinsville Bulletin and came back and was reading the obituary column. And in the obituary column, the barber that I had gone to in that chair had passed away.
Wow.
Yes, yes, yes.
It absolutely blew me away. I told my wife when she was fixing breakfast, she said, what is it? I said, I dreamed about this man last night. I hadn't been in that barbershop since I was a teenager.
Wow,
Yes,
that's incredible.
Yes,
Hey,
that
thanks
was
for
a
calling in.
connection. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Unfortunately, time is just about up. It's been a great show. We could probably take a lot more call-ins. Tracey, you have been a great guest. We're going to put up a graphic right now. If anyone's interested in talking with Tracey and using her services, there's how you could find her. mediumtracylockwood.com. She's on Facebook. She's on YouTube. And then are you also like in the yellow pages up there? If somebody just needed to look in the yellow pages or online? It's easy to find you, right?
If you put in Medium Tracey Lockwood, and whether you spell it or correctly with an EY or not, you should find me. I think they'll find me.
Tracey, it's been great having you. You've really educated me about this. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, your questions were awesome.
Oh, thank you. Before we go on, though, I have to say something. The intro music and the outro music was done by a good friend of mine. His name is Paul Campbell. He works with me at the hospital. And last week I was going to tell everybody, hey, and give him thanks. Thank you, Paul, so much. You know, this show has been a team effort. I have my buddy Hollywood Koger helping me out, and I had Paul help me out, and all my guests have been great. I enjoyed the guests, and especially Tracey. Next week, we have a really special guest. Her name is Galen Chauncey, and she is going to be talking about aliens and UFOs, and I can't wait to have that show. It's been a great night. It's going by pretty quick. Join us next week on Inside the Paranormal Virginia. This is John Salas.
Inside the Paranormal Virginia,